Welcome to our next episode of Conversations Along the Way podcast. Just a few days ago, I was watching the C.A.T.W games in Jamaica. Guys, just a little backdrop on that games. That game is really is in its 49th year, and it's athletics and fields track games, and it was held in Jamaica this year. Young people on the 17s and on the 20s, they compete in all the track and field events. And I was watching it with my daughter. It's been on for the last 2 weeks, and I think it's finished just a day or so ago. When I was watching these C.A.T.W games in Jamaica, memories of my childhood in Guyana, where I was born, came up. And I thought to myself, that's strange. Why am I thinking about Guyana? But then I remembered that not only because of the C.A.T.W games in the Caribbean, but it brought back memories of myself and my siblings growing up in Guyana. And we were also listening to the C.A.T.W games when it was on, because this is the 49th year. So it's been going on for a while. And it was so stimulating to see young people competing and really showing their talents and skills, even more than I thought or expected. So when I was watching that with my youngest daughter, memories of Guyana came up. Another thing happened as well, around the same time. My older brother, I've got an older brother, one brother, he's actually in Guyana at the moment. And he's been posting pictures about his experiences in Guyana. Mm-hmm. And basically, he's been posting pictures about the school that we attended, the primary school. It's still
there.
And I'm thinking, oh my word! And he posted a picture of the church we attended when we were children growing up. And these memories, I'm telling you, Serena, it was just flowing. But I'm thinking, why is this happening together? The C.A.T.W game happening in Jamaica that's just finished.
Can you say the name of the games again slowly?
Yeah, C.A.T.W, C.A.R.I.F.T.A. It's like a acronym for the Caribbean, etc., athletics, whatever.
All right, I've never heard of that before. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can remember listening to that with my family and friends in Guyana, because as I said, 49 years it's been running, and it's even better than when I was a child. And also, my brother, the only brother I have, he actually took part 1 year. He actually went, I think it was Antigua. My brother was very talented, a very talented sports person when he was a teenager. So when he went to compete in these games, C.A.T.W games, the excitement. So all of that, sitting and watching it on the television, knowing that he's in Guyana, posting all these pictures, all my childhood memories that I'd actually sort of like put behind, to rest. It triggered off them. And I'm telling you, my childhood memories of Guyana has been bittersweet. I'm telling you, bittersweet. I mean, it's unbelievable that I buried it to the back of my mind. When I think of my childhood memories in Guyana as well, I remember Charles Dickens, one of his books, Great Expectations. And I can remember have you ever read that book?
Yeah, I've read it and I've watched the movie. I enjoy that movie.
I love reading books. My sister was one academic year behind me. She also loved reading books. Okay. I remember when I was reading that book, Great Expectations, as a child, as a teenager. One of the early lines in that book said, "It was the best of times and the worst of times." Do you remember that?
Yeah. I was getting it mixed up with David Copperfield.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I've read that one as well. Yes.
Charles Dickens is one of my favorite authors, even up to
yes.
When I read that line, Serena, years ago as a teenager, I can remember thinking, that's how I actually felt at the time of my experiences growing up in Guyana. Some good, some not so good. But as I was reflecting on looking at the C.A.T.W games and seeing all of those pictures that my brother was posting on Facebook, I can remember thinking, you know what? I have never returned to Guyana. I started to question myself as to why have you not returned? What happened? And and it was this bittersweet memory, best of times, worst of times came back. And I thought, you know what? I kept thinking about it.
It's time to visit, because you got some older family members there, and if they're still alive, it's better that you visit them and go and talk to them, reinitiate the relationship, make it good now if you can.
I tell you what, Serena, I can't even remember who is who. That's how bad it is. I mean, I'm in my 50s. I left Guyana when I was 13. But I need to go back and say why these memories been bittersweet at best of times and the worst of times. When I was a child growing up, basically, I have 3 other siblings. My brother, which I mentioned, 2 sisters younger than myself. So it's my brother first, then I'm the second, then 2 sisters, 4 of us. All of my siblings were born in England, apart from myself. But 3 of us, the first 3 of us, were actually we actually grew up together in Guyana. That's maybe another podcast, or I might mention how we managed. The 2 of them were born in England and how they managed to be brought up in Guyana. But I think it's an experience that a lot of people from the Caribbean and South Americans, they understand. Even some Africans.
Yeah, the African, as well, because you find the parents studying and working, and so they send their children back to the Caribbean or back to Africa, whatever countries they were born in, to be looked after, and so they grow up and go to school, at least start school there. And then what happens is that they send for them when they're bigger.
As I said to you, all of my siblings were born in England. I was the only one born in Guyana. And I can remember thinking as a child and asking, questioning myself, even questioning God, why am I the only sibling that was born in Guyana?
Because you're the eldest.
I was not the eldest, my brother's the eldest. And that's what I'm saying to you, were born in England. So I grew up feeling I was shortchanged by my parents.
Oh.
I felt I was less than my other siblings because England's meant to be this great country.
Oh, yeah. It's the programming,
Western country, better status than the Guyana, where I was born and grew up. So, and I think it also my siblings had a better, what should I say, status than I had. And I was actually angry with my parents. I'm telling you. When I say angry, Serena,
I can imagine that. Yeah, they get to be born in England and have British passports. Why can't I be British born like them? And in my case, it was the other way. Yeah. I wanted to be born in Jamaica.
Wow. But the thing is, as a child, you don't understand the issues because you have a childish mind.
Yeah.
Although I knew the reason why I was born in Guyana only, and my other siblings were born in England, although it was explained to me, I still was not happy with it because I felt devalued. I felt different. I felt less than my other siblings. But how I managed, go on.
In my case, it was, how comes everyone's bigger than me? Why is it that I'm the baby and all of them are big and I'm the baby? And even though I could understand, well, you were born, you're younger than them and they're bigger than you, they're older than you. But just because I could see and understand that, emotionally, well, psychologically, I didn't accept it, even though I could see that that was fact.
Yeah. I mean, exactly as you said there, Sarita, my parents came to England to get a better life, like most parents that came from Africa, the Caribbean, South America.
And not only that, our mind has been conditioned to revere the British.
Of course.
Yeah.
So growing up as a child, all you heard that the streets of London is paved with gold. So I had this big image in my mind that, all of my siblings born in England, I born in this poor country. I had a poor mindset.
They have something more than me.
And I'm telling you, despised my parents with a vengeance, especially my mom. And I said to her, how in the world, how come I was born in Guyana? I actually was angry, that we had a contentious relationship when we actually met eventually. Anyway, I'm sort of like going ahead of myself.
Oh, yeah.
So basically,
Well, yeah.
my oldest brother was born in England, but my parents sent him back to have a upbringing in Guyana. My parents they intended for all of us to be born in England and just for us to return for that initial, upbringing, and so that we can have that foundation. But it didn't. My mom was heavily pregnant with me when her grandmother died in Guyana. So she went to the funeral with me in her tummy pregnant. And voila, I was born in Guyana. That's how I was the only sibling to be born in Guyana. It was not her intention, her and my dad, for me to be born there. But as things go, that's where I was born. And I was meant to be born there, but of course, as a child, that's not what you're thinking.
And they wouldn't allow that nowadays. They have all sorts of rules about when you're allowed to fly and stuff like that. Yeah.
Things are changing now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally changed. Yeah.
But years ago, you could...
even when I had my daughter, I went to what I did. I put on heavy clothes, and so people wouldn't notice it properly. Got on the plane and went to Tunisia, and I had her there shortly after.
Like my mom. Well, you wanted to be there, isn't it?
Yeah, I wanted to be there. There's a financial issues and all of that. And me being young, I wanted to make a meaningful life, but I just didn't have the knowledge and the skill, so that didn't work out.
Well, you see, that's it. It's just life experiences. Anyway, so my mom went to Guyana for her grandmother's funeral. My brother was living there already because he was being looked after by her mom and all of that, the extended family. And I was born in Guyana. She returned to England and had my other two siblings, The third one was taken back to Guyana, but the last sibling she kept in England. That's another episode. So
how come she got to stay in it? Yeah.
I would be here a year if I was to actually go down that, that route. Anyway, let's get back to how I felt. So as I said to you, I actually felt devalued. My parents didn't care. They just had all the rest of the siblings in England and just had me in Guyana. So I felt different, a low subject, etc. So I actually grew up with these negative feelings and emotions about myself and about my parents and about Guyana. And I'm telling you, Zarina, I had a great time in Guyana growing up, but I just, when the little negative things, how you're thinking
how it taints everything, and it taints the whole thing, and so all the memories are tarnished with this negative thing that's in it. Yes,
precisely. I was a grown-up looking back. I'm in my 50s, so I'm actually talking about right now in my 50s, but as a child, none of these things, Serena, I could have able to conceptualize or understand. I couldn't structure it. All I know is this is how I felt, and that was it.
But a lot of the childish thoughts and feelings are not based on reality, and they're not based on that is possible in the real world. That is reasonable. That's not reasonable. These people, as in your parents, they're able to do that. They might not have been able to do that. They were thinking that. And we don't think of any of that. It's just, I want to be born in Jamaica. I want to go to Jamaica and have fun because I had fun. And they say, no, well, you can't, because in Jamaica, you need food to eat. You need somewhere to live. And there is no economy. Of course, when I was little, I wouldn't accept none of that. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be that. I even used to change my names and all the rest of it. Why? Because I wasn't focused on what's practical, what can happen, what are you able to do. What I was just thinking, I wanted this meaning. I wanted to have fun. And it took years later until I could cope emotionally, psychologically as well. You're psychologically aware, and you're able to process psychologically, even if there are things that you don't want, but then you understand reason, this, that, and the other, and no, you're not making excuses for bad behavior or excuses for things because they weren't the way you wanted. You realize that that was possible, that isn't possible, wasn't possible for that person then, for whatever reason,
But
and then the emotional comes
as
after.
hindsight, as a child, you don't work through things like that. I'm talking as
No.
a child. So you're talking as a person who's mature in their mentality
Now, but children know.
So I'm
Yeah.
talking about my childhood, how I how I actually processed the information.
Yeah.
So basically, there was 3 of us now being brought up in Guyana, and I think another thing like is that we moved from different family members, and that affected, I think, all 3 of us. Just being moved around. So all of that happening, I felt that I was rejected. Our parents didn't want us. They just shifted us, dumped us.
Yeah, so that's how a child thinks, because they can't see the whole world and integrate all the issue about work and accommodation and having to go to a certain school. See, oh, a nice school, I want to go there. But if your parents can't afford it, they have to send you to another family near a school they can afford.
Yeah. I mean, as we were saying before, many families could probably connect to resonate what I'm saying. People who came from Africa, the Caribbean, South America, their parents actually possibly, they were born in the West and possibly send them back to their original place, native country. So, I mean, as a child, as I said, so basically, we didn't know our parents. We didn't know them because, as I said, my mom had me in Guyana as a baby, left me as a newborn baby, returned to England. So there was no connection. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think my siblings possibly could have said a similar thing, I felt rejected, had no connection with my parents, and actually despised them to the T. There was nothing that they could say that could make me think, yeah, or whatever. And as a child, that's how I felt. And moved around from one family to the next did not help. So all I could remember, I'm going to shift very quickly into this because this could be in a book. Who knows?
Maybe.
And we heard our parents were going to actually send for us to go to England. Like, this is what I turned to my sister, my youngest sister. She's 1 academic year behind me. And I said to her, I think we both said to each other, we are never going to come back to this place. We actually spoke those words.
Yeah.
We did not know what we were saying at the time. We just want to get rid of Guyana. So it was like, we turned to, I think I can remember my aunt who was bringing us up at the time. One of our aunts, I have many aunts, one of them died, she died for a long time now. And I can remember turning to her and said, I will never come back to this place. Hate this place. And I think by saying those words, I didn't realize the effect of words can have on your life.
And a lot of these things happen in childhood, and we make certain decisions in childhood, and they drive the rest of your life, and you make decisions based on the childhood emotion because you haven't psychologically sorted it out, put it in order. That's possible, that's not possible for now, or but it wasn't possible for that person then to do such a thing, or what have you. And so as a child, even though you might be big in body, as in you go into college, you might have a job now, but you're still operating on the emotion. That is never having, not even aware enough to sort out the psychology. I can relate to that. Yeah.
I'm telling you, Zarina, myself and my sister, we utter those words. We have never returned to this country. You know, we have never returned since we've left. But it's interesting, Zarina, my brother has been returning every year. He never said those words. He probably had a similar experience that we did because we had a shared experience, you know, negative as such. But he's been returning most years to Guyana. And I was thinking about it, looking at the Caribbean Games, studying the pictures that he was posting on Facebook, and said, you know what? I think I've got to do something about this. This is not good. And my youngest daughter, I have a lot of conversations with her. We live together. And she's always asking, Mom, how come you've never taken us to Guyana? You've never been back? Because, you know, she knows that. I have been to every part of the Caribbean, Africa, Dubai. I've been so close to Guyana. I'm telling you, years ago, and I've decided not going. I just want you to know, Zarina, words, I'm telling you, are powerful.
And it's the thought and the feeling behind it, because I had the same thing about England. And so when I went to Tunisia, I wanted to stay, but then there was a financial problem, and that ultimately broke up my marriage. Yeah, because I didn't have any skill or any ability to make things right. And so because I had all these negative feelings that went on from there, and you're not psychologically aware, even though you've grown up, but you're still running on the childhood emotion. And so all of that negativity would show, it would be transmitted in my voice, my behavior, and people probably even look on you and think something's wrong. They might not know what it is, but they'll detect something's wrong simply because of all my childhood emotion and anger and all of those shortcomings. Because as a child, you don't have the ability to effectively perform or to execute thing and get the result you want and monitor it and manage it and think in a certain way. And so they'd pick up all the negativity and think, oh, she's a bit different, eccentric, or maybe slow or something. And oh, by the way, and that it stops you from focusing in order to learn new information and organize your thoughts and behaviors and problem solve effectively. Those negative emotions make you, for example, when you could have thought, oh, well, I didn't like that, but I could make a phone call and sort out some other arrangement. No, you're too busy sitting there, I want this. You might not say anything, because West Indian family, they'll lick you and make you behave.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact, so you keep silent.
You just mentioned something there, Zarina. The culture is different.
Yeah.
I grew up in an era where children must be seen but not heard.
Yeah.
So you have to put it into the context. My feelings were buried deep. Couldn't say, because if you said, you get a swift box.
You get a lick.
I call it licks, whatever you want to say. In our country was box. We used to call it box, whatever.
And we box it down.
Every country slang or word. So,
even if they didn't hit you, they'd talk to you hard, because that was the old way.
You just said something there, Zarina, that although even my words I spoke, it wasn't only my words that were negative that affected my life and my path and my sort of like my journey. Even my aunt actually used to say negative words over us, but at the time we didn't know what these words meant and how effective they were. It was like curse. When I say curse words, I don't mean like the F words or the whatever word. I'm saying words that actually can change how you think, control how you think, and even control
what sort of words were they, so I can.
Your parents don't want you to be there, your parents don't love you. So words like that was said.
Natasha, have you ever thought that maybe she felt the same about her own parents? Because if I hear that, that's exactly what I think.
That's what you'll think now.
But when you're a child, you don't know nothing about that. You're just feeling it now. You want that thing now. You want that person to be nice to you, not realizing. Now you wonder, when you grow up, you really wonder to yourself if these people could ever be nice to themselves or their own children.
And the thing is, as I said, the person that we lived with for the longest time in Guyana was not a nice person. But in saying that, in the same breath, I had some very good experiences with my friends and other family members. But it just that the negative things that happened where we were, I felt neglected, rejected, unwanted. It just sort of like consumed my mind and my behavior that I could not even think about those good things.
You said about the person being negative and not very nice. If you ever talk to any family members of the people that know that person, or bring up in your memory the stories around that person, or listen to the things that they said at home, I think that if you sit quietly to yourself, do you know that you could reconstruct their past and you'd be able to make sense of why they're saying those negative things? Because I get the feeling that it's something they experience and they're taking out all the anger and frustration on you. because they couldn't solve it then when they were children. And it seems to me that they never had any. You see, it's not because they don't have the psychological capacity, it's lack of awareness. If they're not aware, they just go on the unconscious emotion.
I just remember, while you're talking, that my mom actually returned to try to actually live in England. Sorry, in Guyana. Sorry about that. One stage, I think I must have been about, I'm not sure whether I was 6 or 7. And it was like, oh my word, she's returned. She's, our parents are going to come and we're going to have our parents go. As I said, we weren't living with our parents. I didn't even know what my mom looked like apart from pictures. My dad would come like once a year and then return for like maybe a week or 2. You know what it's like. But the child, the memory, once he left, you can't remember the experience.
Well, yeah.
But I can remember my mom came to live and it was like, oh my word, my mom is coming to live with us. I've got a mom now, because all you see is all your friends. And I had lots
with their parents. Yeah.
Every day running, laughing, this, and then you're there in this doom and gloom, environment where you're thinking, where's my parents? How come I can't have my parents taking me here or whatever? Anyway, my mom came to live in Guyana, and it was, I think it was a short-lived experience. I think she stayed for, I'm not sure whether it was a few months or a year. I cannot even remember. I don't even care to remember. But all I can remember her saying that she's returning to England and leaving us. So can you imagine the trauma as a child?
Yeah. A child, they'll just get angry and scream and cry. And don't forget, in the Caribbean, if you get angry and scream and cry, they'll just beat you until you behave, you keep quiet, you do as you're told, and that's it. And no comforting, no resolve, no making you understand, speaking to you on your level and making it containing you. That's how it is.
That's it. And as a child,
and if you mention it again, you get punished. As
a child, I can remember, as an adult, looking back, that was like a traumatic experience. But I didn't know I don't know anything about trauma as a child. You don't know.
Well, when you're little, you wouldn't know about that. It's just that things didn't go how you wanted, and you felt bad about it. You felt bad about it, full stop.
And I'm in my 50s now. I'm talking, I was like 5 or 6. What do I know about trauma? What do I know about depression and all of that?
No.
All I knew
even the adults of that time, if they don't know nothing about that, they went through all of those things, a lot of them.
All I knew is my mom was there at one time, then she's back. I finally got my mom, who I was longing to see. I was feeling a bit valued, all loved, for the first time. And then she returned to England. And just to be brought up by a relative that was so wicked. I mean, I don't want to talk wicked of the dead, but I'm being real. And I can remember an experience that actually stayed with me for years. But the thing is, as a child, you have to get on with it. There's no counseling, there's no, everything is
nothing. No, nothing. It's just that happened. You school on Monday morning, you be there. You do what you're supposed to do. You got housework and chores and shopping to get you do it.
That's it. Happened. I can remember in those days, we went to the airport when my mom was returning to England. Those days, you can actually walk as close up to the plane than to see your relatives going on the plane. I can remember we went as close to the actual steps of the plane. My mom waved. They closed the door. We walked back. And I can remember the relative that we were going to be looked after by, she turned to me, because I have to say as well, I didn't tell you guys, I was the most, what should I say, cheeky, answer back person. I actually lived out the way I felt. I would actually say things, behave the way, but didn't know why I was behaving like that. Although I had a slight inclination that, I was unhappy, whatever, but I used to badly. She turned to me as the door of the plane closed behind my mom, and she goes, "You wait till you get home." And I was like 5 or 6, and I can remember that experience as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Trembling in my little self and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. So I'm just telling you, I'm just trying to give as much history as to why I did not want to return to this place, Guyana. it was bittersweet. That was one of the bitter memories. And the thing is, you don't realize that's a traumatic experience.
Well, yeah, a child wouldn't. It's just something that, you say, auntie beat me. Oh, uncle shouted at me. Oh, whoever hit me or what have you. You won't even think about the reason behind it or what have you.
And I could remember her saying that my parents will say nothing. My parents have gone. It's just going to be me and her, and she's going to do for me. That is why I made that statement when I knew we were actually coming to England to live. I will never return to Guyana. And I never have. But I'm in my 50s now, and as I said, going back to my brother's picture on Facebook about the school and the church and places we used to go to. And I was speaking to my youngest daughter. She goes, Mom, it's about time now for you to actually visit. She goes, Mom, I want to come. She goes, I've always wanted to come to Guyana or to go to Guyana with you. And I said, yes, I know. But she goes, you're the one who's meant to do the leading. You're the one who's meant to take your children to Guyana. I said, you know what? I think the time has come that I have to make a trip. I mean, this has been how many years now? I was 30 in my 50s, over 40 years. I mean, of course. But the thing, when you bury a negative memory, I think that's something I wanted to just share with you. So when you bury a negative memory, you don't realize how it actually controls your behavior.
Children, even adults are not aware. They have certain feelings and thoughts from childhood. And because they're so common or so used to it, they're not consciously aware. And it's driving all their decisions and emotions and behaviors, even performance at work. And we're not aware. Until you become aware, then you can change it. But if you're not unaware of it, all you know is that you feel angry every time you go to a certain place. Yeah, like I had my friend years ago when I was living in Birmingham. And she says, all I knew is every time I went to Auntie's house, I hated her bedroom. I never liked her bedroom. And so it was until she was big, she said, that she remembered her with another man at night, because she was sleeping in there as a child at the time.
Yeah.
I remembered her with another man who wasn't her uncle. Yeah. And so from that traumatizing experience, as a child, she just always felt bad when she went to the house because of that bedroom.
Yeah. See, it does affect you. And I'm telling you, Zarina, although I was coming to England, I thought maybe life would be so good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in my mind, of course, not expressing it like in my body language. It's like, oh my word, I'm going to be living with my parents now. Everything is going to be great, fantastic. Little did I know.